Welcome back to Conversations with ShaE. So I am super excited today. We're going to be meeting and greeting and conversating with the fabulous Queen Musa. Queen Musa is all about health and wellness. She is educating on human community about living holistically, spirit, mind, body, and soul. She's also has some great new ventures underway. She's getting started, and I'm super excited to hear about what she has popping, about her brand, and just about the wonderful queen that she is. So today I'm introducing to some, maybe not to others, the fabulous Queen Musa.
Hello, hey. Thank you, ShaE, for having me today. I'm so glad to be here. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share my voice, my journey, and be able to help others if they even in a situation right now and they think they can't get out of. So I'm very happy to be here at this moment. I give God the honor and the praise for that, for sure.
Amen. Amen. I follow you up to say I'm grateful to have you here. And as well, I give God the honor, the Most High, the honor just to have you in the presence right now. So I'm very grateful. One thing I want to say is that this series is called Faith Over Fear. So we will be kind of talking about how you're getting started, all the things that you have going on. What's special to you? First of all, I want to ask you, in the honor of Juneteenth, right? So in respect, we pay homage to our ancestors and those who came before us. On this day, how are you doing?
I'm doing awesome because my family in itself is just dope, in my opinion, as most of us think our families are, right? Yes. And then as a diaspora, I just think we're dope.
Hey, yeah.
I just look at it as a whole, and I see things now differently from 5 years ago and 10 years ago to almost 20 years ago. Like, we have matriculated and got to a consciousness now where we're slowly getting to ourselves that God intended us to be. And I see it as a bigger picture, when some right now still see it as a avenue, and I see it more as like an 8-lane highway. Yeah. I'm just excited and like trying to keep in my lane so I don't veer off and just be like, ooh, look what they're doing. That's gonna be
distraction. Oh, no distraction.
You get distracted, and then you got to learn, hey, even though it's us as a whole, stay in your lane, because you're gonna stay in that lane and it's gonna merge into the major highway. And you think you're like, oh, I just want to get to the highway. Out there they refer to most.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like, hey, yeah, but you made a decision, so let's go down this route. I already foretold this decision anyway, so I'm still here with you. I had an experience because I'm from Atlanta.
Yes.
So I grew up in a predominantly Black city, city with excellence and business-mindedness, civil rights. My mother's background, she's from Birmingham, Alabama. So my grandmother and my grandfather and all her siblings, my mom in her 70s. So they were all involved in the civil rights movement to take care of the kids with the ladies and prepare the lunches for the kids for the whole community. See, we don't even do that no more.
Right.
They had women that designated. The women was actually the forefront of the civil rights movement.
Right.
Because you had the women that volunteered, say, hey, I'll be the babysitter for the daycare y'all go walk. I'll be the one that make the lunch or the breakfast for the day and they prepare the men with the ammonia. My grandfather's job was to go out with the ammonia to help with the dogs to deter them from people while they protest.
Wow.
So like my eldest auntie, she's still living. My eldest uncle, they both were down. They got arrested. They were 15 and 16 years old for protesting. My mother and my uncle, around her age, they're the Miller kids. They were like in it, but they were like making the signs.
Yes,
they were doing
but still in it. Yeah.
Still in it, and they was participating, going to the nightly meetings.
Yeah.
So that kind of as my boyfriend would say, he's from Barbados, broughtupsy.
Okay. Okay.
That kind of rearing that my mother and them had is a very strong
Yes.
mindedness. They didn't let nothing deter them.
Right.
The point that after the civil rights movement in I think it was like 1964, 65, when the Asher Act was put into place. After that time period, my mom graduated in 1970 in the city, in Birmingham. So that's when the Great Migration happened to the north.
Right.
A lot of people in the South, they be like, "Oh, you just left the South." No, people was taken off their land, bribed off their land, or schemed off their land. Because I think it was like a 30-year period, you know, because we didn't have nothing. We had the sharecrop, or the old slave owner was nice. Hey, he'd be like, you know what, y'all can have that piece over there.
Right.
Or you had to earn it and go buy it from him.
Right. Right.
By the turn of the century of the 1900s, we acquired 14% of the United States land. Now
Come on, teach.
land.
Right.
And now we own less than almost 1%. So,
how did something like that happen?
Let's talk about Juneteenth, right?
Yeah.
Tulsa, prime example.
Tulsa, come on.
Prime example.
And educate, because some people might not know these gems that you're dropping. So this is good, that prime example.
Why we actually don't have our properties and land, because oppressor always want to keep you in like a depressed, or you keep going nowhere mentally, physically, spiritually. Because if you get somebody mentally, it's gonna start wearing down on their spirit.
We're such a captivating people, right? So if we were to really get on the same accord and do these things, that it would really make a big change and a big difference. So, you know, and I said, it goes back to where the separation, okay, you're in the home, you're working in the field. So now that's that separation. Now it even goes, so that form of separation, when people say, oh, if we would stick together, is so embedded. You know, you have if you're lighter skinned, then if you're darker skinned, you know, that's a division. No. If we were all to get on one accord, oh, what a mighty change we can make, right? And I really believe that, like I said, because we are so creative and so just, you know, people are interested and people want to know. And a lot of it is based on fear that they don't want to know. But if we could be the voice to say, you know, I'm going to do this for the generation, I'm going to do this for the culture. If one person would be that to step up, maybe we could say, when it comes to Black History Month, or when it comes to celebrating Black history, we can always going to pay homage and always going to celebrate those that came before us. But maybe now we can have the new names, right? Yes. Because every February, we're celebrating the likes of Dr. Martin Luther King, the wonderful, great Miss Rosa Parks, right? All the fabulous people. But when is the new person going to step in? It's something too, because I think to myself, when they're talking about, you know, the history and how we don't celebrate the accomplishments of Black and brown people in the history of this land, it kind of makes me think in 200 years it's going to be said that, you know, they were still being able to get shot in the streets like animals. They were animals. They were, you know, they weren't about family, or they weren't finishing school, or they weren't getting married. They were sad. And in 200 years, that's still going to be the story. But we're living in that time. We're living in that time now. So maybe 200 years ago, when people were living in that time, that's the story that is being passed down in history, is all the oppressed stories. But we were always great, and we are always great. So we need to change that narrative of what's going to be said 200 years from now, because we're walking this land right now today.
Oh, 100% agree. Like, back to, like I was saying with Tulsa, like, that was an economic power hole. Like, they had their own Wall Street. They didn't need to be on the stores.
everything, gas stations,
And
schools.
then Tulsa was Atlanta.
Yes, yes.
Auburn Avenue.
Auburn Avenue. That's right.
You go down Auburn Avenue and Edgewood, it's all like hippie, kind of eclectic with a little soul mixed now.
Yes.
But that's what Marlene Jr.'s mother's house is off that road.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of prominent Blacks. That's where they kept everybody. They red zoned them to those locations like Vine City, where my grandmother grew up, which is near the Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
Mm-hmm.
If you've been to Atlanta, if you've been to the Mercedes-Benz station, it's a train station, a MARTA train station that sits on the back end of the station. That was my grandmother's house.
Oh, wow.
They tore all that.
You got some deep history in the land, for real.
Yeah. Yes. And that's so when I'm telling, like, when you said, like, you know, how we get like this, the indoctrination of fear was already before Tulsa, because they put it in our ancestors' minds for 400 years. You got to imagine, even the Jews in the Bible was in Egypt. In Egypt for 400 years. Mm-hmm. Even when God led them out, Elohim led them out and said, hey, here's manna from heaven. You ain't got to starve. Here's water from a rock. Take care. Before people don't even realize they didn't even have commandments. He was letting them just get out. He didn't want to give them commandments, but because of their disobedience and because of their oppressed minds, the enslavement of their minds, he had to break them free for 40 years. He had to kill off that mindset. That's the wilderness they walked around. Yes. Literally, it takes only like not even a day to walk. Right. From where they were. It took them 40 years because he had to drop that mindset. He had to kill off that enslavement and mentality. And if you compare the two in history, that's kind of deep. Right. Because Mansa Musa, if you read his story, he took a voyage with 200 ships full of gold, servants, cattle, goats, and what African culture was known for was agriculture as well, and steel and iron. That's what they was known for. Gas and all that. The Romans and them came to them for stuff. So when Mansa Musa took that voyage, all of a sudden Columbus and them went over there. It was like the Portuguese actually went over there and it was like, whoa, I see Negroes. What's going on? These Moors over here. Why are these Moors over here?
Right. Too. That's right. Come on.
Because that's a Moor. If take this back just a little bit. A Moor is basically an educated man from the Moroccan or Northern African lineage of their education. They were very vast in mathematics, science, architecture, literature. They're the ones that brought the light to Europe during the Dark Ages.
It kind of sounds like the history is repeating itself.
So they took their darkness,
right,
and then was like, you know what? Thank you for helping us out, but you know what? We like what y'all got. So we don't take what you got. I'm a Christian in my faith, far as my foundation,
right?
But I have elevated because I asked the Lord to open my eyes to Him,
right?
So in this journey, I'm seeing in this journey where I always saw it as a kid because I saw the little slave movies and stuff. I was like, why do they always use the Bible when they whooping them? You know? And then I did my history and I started reading more and watching more documentaries. And I'm like, wait a minute now. Who's the Council of Nicaea? Oh, that's wrong. Oh, this one, Clement went over here and he actually converted over to Christianity. And then they met up and they literally said, we're going to use this to change the mind of the world. So then now, as a Christian-based woman,
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
felt kind of like, hold up now, you use this to hurt people.
Wow. We are
what God intended this for. First of all, it wasn't even the Bible. It was just scrolls. It was you're burnt down the libraries that was provided for thousands of years.
Right.
You mad because you mad everybody smarter than you, more developed than you, more advanced than you. You remember in the 90s and 80s and 70s, they couldn't imagine Africans using ships to cross. You used the Africans that you was enslaving at first, didn't enslave at first. Look, I get up to the camp on this one.
Right.
The same ones that you was going over there trading with as prisoners, not even as prisoners of war yet. You was going over there and talking to them, man, I'm trying to get over here to India, and they'll tell you, oh, no, you go down this way, and then the current would take you this way. Not knowing the knowledge that we were feeding them,
right,
was for our demise. You right?
Yeah.
So they had blacks on the ships too. At first, just doing trades, showing them, hey, navigate here, go here. We were navigators too. They weren't the only navigators they had in Europe were the Vikings. The only place they knew how, the only one of the other places they also knew how to navigate was the Mediterranean Sea. That's not even bigger than the Michigan lakes.
Wow.
If you look at the actual square mileage, Michigan lakes all together going into Canada is huge.
Right.
Same as the Mediterranean Sea. That's if you look at it, that's all they stayed in. That's all Europe knew.
Right.
Except but the Brits, because the Brits are island. People don't realize that they're not a part of the actual mass.
Right.
I always tell people, look at the map, even though the map is not even concrete because it's what they want us to know.
Everything could be really based to say, I'm really just going to give you what I want you to know about it. That's what I'm saying. Like, so when I'm thinking about what's happening now in 200 years, 100 years, when they're telling the story of history, is going to be a bad story. It's not, none of this that's happening now is going to make it to the story of excellence that we're celebrating some real excellent moves right now as you know, really being influential in almost all areas, right? Dominating in, like I said, sports, dominating in entertainment, and even in education now, the amount of scholars that are, you know, but none of these things will be the highlight when it comes down, because we're still stuck on what happened at the early part of the civil rights movement, or at the early parts of what happened before then. But we're not really, we're not catching it. So in 100 years and 50 years, when the story's told, what's going to be told is not how people were savaged against, not how people were, you know, it'll be these mass murders and these mass shootings. They will talk about those as the serial killers. Like when we hear about the people who have done that in the past, it's like fascinating stories. But when we hear about things that are concerning the rich history of our people, of our ancestors, but we are going to be the ancestors at someday.
Fight or flight. Yeah, fight or flight.
That 5 times fast.
Yeah. So it's the main hormone for that. So you will stay, if you're like anxious, anxiety, panic attacks, and all that. Talk to your girl right here, going through all that too, learning how to heal myself, and those herbs in particular helps you not be on antidepressant.
Right.
So you don't have to worry about putting pharmaceuticals in your mouth that has the fillers. Remember that? The fillers I talked about?
Right.
You getting what God intended you to have to help you.
Right.
Okay. It's out there. You just have to seek and you shall find. Right. But with the right type of education, you just can't jump out there somehow, oh, it look like it's pretty, it look like I can swim. But if you haven't jumped in the water, you're gonna drown.
Right. You have to educate. That's what you said. We talked about that scripture, you know, that lack of knowledge, that lack of knowledge. You start something and, you know, and I'll say, I've done that. Oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try that because I saw it or somebody told me. I didn't do my own research. I didn't get educate myself to become at least somewhat familiar with something. And I'm just jumping into doing essential oils because somebody told me about it. And I don't really know, are the essential oils that I'm doing, are they in sync with other things that I may be doing? Am I mixing two essential oils that may be counterproductive? You know what I mean? Right. So it is about knowledge and educating yourself. So that's good. That's good. And I want people to reach out to you with any questions that they have to be able to become better, maybe that to get some directions on some books or presentations that they can listen to or read or get into to kind of be familiarized with the benefits of holistic healing and in that. And then I do have a couple other questions and then we'll wrap up. But I do know you have a new journey that you are embarking on.
And we did a whole month just on religion. And that's when it hit me like, whoa, but that's in the Bible. Well, that I learned that.
It's all the same principle. The principle is what? Treat each other kind, love one another.
Don't kill each other. Don't steal from each other. Love your neighbor.
That's right.
And
honor your parents.
Yes. Have intention to be good to one another and to yourself and your family.
So why does that have to be a separate conversation? There you go. But you said it because it's that division. And the division is always, that division was set in place. That division has been set in place. Like we talked about having some work in the home. It's been so set. Let me sell you out. You're in jail. You're free. You know, are you really free? Like it's so much division. It's so much is there when all along it's not
the power. That was the biggest trick in the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Satan, aka Lucifer. I look when people look at me now. I say, who created him?
That's right.
So you can't. That's his own son, like Michael and Gabriel.
Right.
He loved him. God don't like him or don't love him. He loves that fallen.
Right. That's right.
Because he's fallen. And all he is to me is a spoiled brat having a temper tantrum over daddy's creation.
Like you have people who intentionally do good. You have people who intentionally do bad. And you know, whether or not you are a believer or not,
facts.
Have your own free will, right? Whether or not you say, I am a believer. And so because of that, I try to live my life based on the principle of living my life good. Now, if that means that I have to have not so much religion, but if that means that I put God first in my life, that's what I have to do because I'm no good on my own, right? I'm no good on my own. Tried that, been there, done that. I make a lot of mistakes and bad decisions, right?
Turn on the wrong street all the time.
Right. You know, this is like some kids need to have the parents say, don't put your hand in that hot fire. You know the fire's hot, don't touch it. And some kids will touch it anyway, right? I was that kid that might touch it anyway, right? So I needed that parent to don't touch that. That's what I need in my life. Maybe people say they don't need that, but me,
right? Myself, and then they come in, they be like, "Hey, bro, so you don't believe in God, right? Well, I could play with your free will, and you don't know I could do that."
That's right.
See, that's why they wish those thoughts. That's why you have to meditate, people,
right? And
that's something that's a discipline that we don't realize we need as a whole human race. You know, they figure out in science that if 10% or less, I think it's less than 10%, meditate on one thing, they could change their environment like in a.
Oh yeah.
I think
you know they said because your life becomes what you think about.
Yes, but you can do it
all day long. It starts
right. And they did a science experiment with that. They did like I think 8 people in a 8 radius or 10 radius city block.
Mm-hmm.
And they had 8 people meditate on, like, it was a crime infested block. So they had them meditate on goodness. And for like a week, it was no killing, no nothing. And that's all of us coming to one accord because you thinking like-minded.
Right.
So if you always perpetuating fear on the music, the news, the movies, TV show, tell a vision.
Mm.
Who are you telling?
Right.
Telling my vision, because I see vision different.
Right.
Perpetuation of HERstory, telling a vision.
Wow.
So people forget what Lucifer he was in heaven. He was the angel of music, influence, and knowledge. So like those things are right in your face, but because you are coming from his story and watching him tell a vision, you're not gonna see it. You're not gonna see. And this is from me, just you guys, like from me studying and just I love puzzles. As a kid, I used to love puzzles. So for me, it's easy for me to like connect things. When I see it, I just love I used to love do the connect drawings because I was like, oh, I can make this even fire.
Yeah.
You know, make a little extra swirl, make it look cute. But if you look at, it's like even in the word of God, my people perish due to the lack of knowledge.
Right.
So knowledge is not just in that word, in the 66 books that we were provided.
Right.
That's written down. How about pick up an actual Hebrew translated Bible?
Wow.
Because that's the word it was from.
Right.
And then you take it from there when you actually know the Hebrew alphabet.
Yeah. That's the knowledge. And that might be the lack of knowledge because I'm even lacking that knowledge. Be honest.
Letter can just dive you right in. And then you like, wait a minute. Okay, so God talk a little different than what they was telling me. You know, you can't go by his story because that's all he would tell people. Like my dad taught me going to church. He said the pastor is there to teach you or help you confirm with the Holy Spirit.
Right.
That means at home you need to be doing your studies and
that's right.
Showing yourself approved.
That's right.
Not going to a man and say, all right, every Sunday my sins are transgressed. Okay, they let me know you're not reading the Bible, because if you're going to a Sunday church every Sunday, every Wednesday, every Friday, if you are the ones that go to church all week long,
right?
No matter how many times you go, you look like you're going to the Sadducees and the Pharisees to go dip you in blood and go dip themselves in blood, and so they can transgress your sins. When somebody already came down here and did it, which is God after blood. So why are you going and playing church?
Come on.
You playing church.
Leaving out and not doing your own work to become better or to be better.
So guess what that allowed? Demons know the word just like 5 churches on one street. And none of them have an impact on their community at all.
No, and they're closed most of the week. And I could find in Georgia, I could find people sleeping on the steps.
Come on now.
Outside.
And that's a sanctuary.
The doors are locked.
Right. And that's a sanctuary. That's a house for lost souls, a hospital.
Right.
That's a hospital for lost people. And you have, and I grew up in a mega church.
Right.
I was there. I was proud of it. I was like, yeah, I went to that. And now I'll be like, okay, those scales were dropped off me in my mid-20s. So I was like, okay, I see now. Right. And I, going through, I want to do my own thing kind of thing. Right. And God was like, all right, I'll keep trying to tell you, girl, stay on your boulevard so I could make you merge onto the highway. But you keep going down these streets going one way. And people like, I just don't do this. I said, did you read the sign? Did you at least? And that's what God be throwing out. He like, did you read the sign? Ooh. I'm a former truck driver also, you guys.
Yes.
So truck drivers have to read signs like in seconds and know what that sign is before they even pass it.
Right.
So you like a third of a mile not even a third, in an eighth of a mile, you need to know everything that you in that landscape that you're driving on top of, looking into 6 to 8 mirrors. Yeah. So you have to have awareness as a truck driver. So if you can't see the signs to get off the highway when you need to, when God be like, hey, now you driving a little, hey, you see that traffic coming up, veer off here. And then go across the bridge and go down and jump on this road and go up to the next exit and jump back on.
Right.
You do that sometimes to help save you, but sometimes you ain't your own one. I got this, God. He like, okay, go ahead. And then we like, oh, now we in traffic. Like, I don't want to be here.
Right.
I'm putting in Atlanta traffic. Stuck.
Come on. Stuck in traffic.
Zit lad with Jacob set for 21 years.
Yeah.
Chasing out.
Don't sit there for 400 years.
What about the 40 years? Those examples are for a reason.
That's right.
Because all that was a mind state.
That's good.
Hey, people been poking at me for years. You need to get out, but sometimes you got to be in the fire a little longer so you come out polished and pristine.
Now, let me ask you something. We're talking about faith over fear, right? We're talking about putting your faith over your fear. And I know that people ask you to speak. I've heard you speak for quite a long time now, but I will always say it's one thing to have those conversations in a room with like-minded people, or maybe reach somebody that's not like-minded and kind of get them thinking a different way. But it's a whole nother thing when you develop your own platform to begin to teach and begin to hone in on the expertise that you have, that you spill out onto others. And it is time for you to do that, and so that's why I said, how do you, the conversation that we're having, is getting started. It's talking about faith over fear. When do you, Queen Musa, when do you develop that level of faith? Because you might say, I haven't done it yet. I'm not ready yet. I'm still getting together yet. I haven't become that yet. When does that settle in for you? Because now that comes back to faith and fear.
I already know. That's why I love the fact that you named your platform Faith Over Fear, because that's something I've been dealing with for a long time. It was the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of not being good enough for myself, or being a disappointment to my family because I think different. And then I challenge things because they don't believe certain things, like because I have been in the darkness or wilderness, showing thyself approved.
Yes.
Not under somebody else's eyes. That in itself has led me to I'm a herbalist as well. Yes. So I started on a journey where I was trying to heal myself because doctors got on my nerves. I was like, okay, y'all don't know what y'all talking about. I'm sick all the time. So I went on a spiritual fast first. My father said I had a dream. You need to, he gave me he said you had lost all the way down to 180 pounds. So at the time I was 296 pounds. And I was already self-conscious about it. But then I was just like, I'm just tired. I was depressed, my anxiety, and come to find out I actually had PTSD from past events I need to actually reconcile with. So down a path of unhealthy eating, suppressing my feelings, and not speaking up for myself. So I took upon that as a sign when my dad said he had that dream. I was like, oh, I need to fast. Fast lasted probably like 30 days, and then I was introduced to a naturopathic doctor. That naturopathic doctor put me on a cleanse during this same time. He was like, well, you got to fast. I said, well, technically I already been fasting for almost 30 something days. He was like, oh, so you already ended. I said, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I already had the game and didn't even know why. And then I got on the cleanses, started flushing my system out. And then it progressed into a love. I don't need these medications. I can really do this. And mind you, I'm reading my scriptures every day. I'm focusing on my intention of what I want to be and what I want to do. And all of a sudden, I start dropping weight like crazy.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. Okay. And then I took another step and said, you know what? This is something I always wanted to do. But my mom and my dad and my grandmama, they was like, don't you do that to your hair. Because I had long hair and I cut it. They got mad because I cut it. And then I said, wait a minute, this is my crown and glory.
Yes.
Why I gotta have somebody dictate to me
Permission, right?
and give permission and put fear in me?
Fear. Come on.
I won't look right or look a certain way because of my hair. So right after then, I started to delve deeper into how to keep my skin clean better without using detergents. I said, hold up, I'm
It looks beautiful too, by the way.
Thank you. Like how, you know, my grandmama was, because I remember those stories about them being on the farm and everything. And I was like, before Crest, Colgate, Dove, where all this stuff? I said, these are chemicals.
Right.
I said, how did they live with all this stuff and still be healthy? And so I dove into, I'm making my own soap. I'm gonna start making my own shampoo. I'm gonna start making my own toothpaste. So most of my hygienic products I make.
Wow. So now are people able to get to your products and purchase?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can go to my website, CEIZE and I'm actually posting up some new soap in another week. So y'all give me a week, okay? But I'm posting some soap. I have my herbal medicines. They just sold out. So I'm out of stock again. So
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Now I want to make a disclaimer. I want to tell people, don't stop your medications right now until you have some feedback. Go ahead. What would you say?
But don't stop medicating. Let me do this disclaimer right now. This is due to FDA disclaimer. I have to tell you guys this. This is for any and everybody, whether it's me or any other herbalist. Do not stop any of your medication. Consult with your doctor first. Before you even take a herb, Google University. You can Google if your medication will have an actual side effect with your herb. And if so, you need to consult with your doctor and have him talk or her talk to your herbalist. Okay. And then they can correspond and say, hey, well, can I try this herb with them? And another thing, if you are past that point, wait 3 hours after you take your medication, then do your herbs. Take your medication your doctor prescribed you, because you cannot shock your system like that. You will, let's say you're doing a detox. I'm giving you an example. You're doing a detox. You will override your system because let's say you're doing a metal detox and you got metal fillings in your mouth. You forgot. You don't have the white fillings in your mouth. You got the metal ones, old school back in the day. And you do a metal detox. I'm like, yes, I'm going to purify these toxins in my body. But you forgot about these fillers. Now you just became toxic in your blood because it's going to draw all that into your blood. And now you're sick. And now your liver has to try to process that. Your kidneys, your adrenal glands, your digestive system, your pancreas. You finna override your system. Now you're sick. Like sick. And they probably have to do, sometimes they have to do blood transfusions to get your blood clean. Or sometimes you got to go on a regimen of a diet where you have to literally like dang near do like a liquid diet.
That's good.
Give your body a rest. So don't, when you see on Instagram, TikTok, that's cute. But you gotta actually be like, okay, if I'm taking antidepressant, what herbs are the same thing? This, for example, we're gonna use a very popular herb. Everybody know that calms you: chamomile or lavender. So you can make a lavender tea with some lemon, steep that can calm you down. Chamomile will calm you down.
Underneath your umbrella, you have so many fantastic entities of your brand. I know that you do cakes, right? So I've eaten your cakes. I've used your bakery skills for family events. And I mean, guys, y'all gotta get on board. If she's still doing that, I mean, she has a lot of other things popping. You're doing the holistic journey. You are on that journey of healing and getting people healed. And that's really exciting. And then also you are now, as you said earlier, you are a truck driver. You know, you are a qualified truck driver.
Yeah.
Give it up to the ladies in these big trucks, right? So super exciting. I mean, you set the scene and maybe paved the way for some other young ladies to get on board. So big shout outs to that.
Thank you.
And now I know you're venturing on the next level of dispatching. I want you to tell, I'm so super excited for you. And I want to learn more about what that looks like for you, how that incorporates in your brand. And so tell me about this new truck driving entity. What's going on here?
Hey, I'm gonna give you a quick synopsis for just in case a young lady or even a young man just listening. So give you a quick little briefing. So it took me 5 years to graduate college. Okay. I was working full time. I purchased my home when I was 21 years old. Instead of just renting, I decided to purchase during the good time in the market. But I took that standpoint because my father instilled in me, like, save your money and invest your money. He said, we didn't know how to do it, but I want you to know how to do it. So I made sure I did. My first asset was my home. Then I graduated and I couldn't find a job. I have a degree in marketing. And I was like, wait a minute now. This should be possible. I'm in Atlanta. What do you mean I can't find a job? And then so I was working at a bank, a credit union at the time. And I had worked there for a substantial amount of time, like almost 5 years. The whole time I was in college. And I was like, oh, I want to go to the marketing department. Let me apply for this position. And they was like, oh, no, you don't qualify. But I was like, wait a minute. None of you have degrees, and I have a degree in this actual department. So what's going on here? Because if I know I stay here, I'm going to be miserable.
Right.
And so I'd rather not have that type of resentment and burn that bridge, because I always can cross over the bridge because it's a financial institution. And I wanted to travel. But then I want to get paid to travel. But then I was like, I want to learn a skill, because I listened to a Warren Buffett seminar around this time. This is like around 24 years old, 24, 25. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to get a trade. And at the time, the credit union I worked for, I used to work at a union hall.
Okay.
Is where all the trades would come in for plumbers, electricians, plasters, masons. So I learned about this. I'm like, man, I could have did. And I saw women plumbers walking in. I was like, wait a minute. Black women plumbers.
Yes, come on. Right.
I could do this little trade.
Right.
And it gave me a little spunk, but I didn't know where to go. And I remember in school, towards the end of my last semester, they offered supply chain management courses finally as a major. And I'm in my last semester. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to keep the classes I have under me. But if I would have just stayed one more semester, I could have graduated with a dual major. But that would have prepared me for supply chain management, which is transportation. Right. And that's from aviation, which is flight, truck, rail, and anything. So I started looking into working at Norfolk Southern, CSX. And I was like, I want to get on the air management program, because I like this transportation thing is going. And I saw the forecast, because our teachers were teaching us, like, Savannah now is the second largest port in the United States. From my teachers telling us, hey, Savannah going to be the next thing. So if you're going to be in any type of industry and business, be in finance and be in supply chain management. And then I was like, okay, but y'all not offering, but I'm taking the classes they do offer. I learned that.
Yes.
I saw the world in a different lens. And that was my last semester in college. And I was like, oh, I'm getting a trade in transportation. So I started looking at CSX, Norfolk Southern, and all those places. And then I noticed, like, all the applications kept coming back. You need to get a CDL. What? I have a degree. But then, as a female, they'll get a dude over you. Okay. In those industries. So that's what I learned going to the conference. And like, okay, let me do what I need to do. And I took out a little signature loan, and I went and I was the only female in my trucking class, and I was the youngest one in the class.
Right.
You know, I was a little tender. And they were, you gonna drive the truck?
Oh, God.
So am. And
Show is how they say it in Atlanta. Show is.
I surely gonna do that thing. There you go, right there.
Yeah.
But I did the program. I think it was like a 6-week program. It took me 8 because I had to practice on my backing. So it took me 8 weeks. I got my license. I started off with Schneider as the orange country to have.
Right.
Now you got the degree. Now you know you don't have to be out there if you really don't want to.
Right.
So what we're gonna do right now, because this situation happened where right now you don't even want to look at a truck. So
right.
You know what I'm saying? So what can you do? And I was like, operation. Like my dispatcher will call and talk to me.
Yes.
All the time. And so I started putting the word out to all my trucking friends. Hey, any of y'all companies need a dispatcher? I used to go print out my resume. And in Atlanta, you have Fulton Industrial Boulevard, which is a major logistics boulevard for any type of warehousing job. And I literally did for 2 weeks, went to each warehouse and passed out my resume. I even passed out the truck drivers like, hey, give it to your company. I don't even know what your company about, but I'm going to research because I now see your company. I go home, I researched about the trucking company, send in a resume online. Right. And I was still applying at the railroad. Then I got a call from a friend like, hey, Schneider up here working with you again. Right. Then I went back, became basically I went in operations where I wanted to go.
Nice.
And I learned about dispatching on their platform, which is Schneider, you guys, is one of the top 3 trucking companies in the world.
Yes, definitely.
And I was like, okay, I go back to Schneider and I learned so much. And I was glad, even the people I was around at the time, I was like, I can't do this. I'm not smart enough. And even God took me a step back where you guys, I actually had to step down in a position that they forced me to. And I was like, oh, I'm smarter than this. And that was like reminding me when I was in the 8th grade. I remember I was in a higher level math, and then my teacher thought I wasn't capable. And I was like, look, lady, I'm up in here, not training, but basically tutoring these kids while I'm doing my work, and you finna set me back. But my dad brought the perspective. He said, sometimes God make you go in reverse. So you
push you forward. That's right.
And so when you go forward, you going all the way through, and then you bring with you.
You know, when you're doing the K part, you're trying to get out of this is good. When you're trying to get out of a tight spot, sometime in the vehicle, you got to back it up and then pull it up, then back it up again, then pull it back up. And try to drive on your way. And then you're on your way.
In trucking, prime example, you got to get that box right to hit that hole.
Come on.
And your main objective in trucking is to be safe. And the thing they focus on is get out and look. Goal. Get out and look. Why? Because you're reversing. And you need to make sure you know where you're going before you can go forward.
And sometimes in the goal, we see you got to reach the goal to be able to make that good transition be safe, right? To be a safe transition.
Get out and look, because you need to see.
Get out and look. You got
on the side. I ain't got no obstruction, no debris I'm about to hit. Do I have a car behind me, or a person, a child, or is it a building behind me? It's so much things can go on in a millisecond. Not a second, a millisecond.
Right. That can create a situation that nobody wants to be in, right? So how does that bring you taking that step back, going back, coming back up, moving forward, somebody telling you can't when you know you could, but you being the one to humble yourself and get in that position? What has that done for you?
Oh man, that allowed me to actually look at their system as a whole. So I learned their system.
Yes.
And so I took that. And so anybody that would come in, I would train them. Or I give them my little tidbits. Now, I have not been with them in 3 years, and it's a transition. And at first I was heartbroken, but now I see why. My dad taught me, he always said, God gives you the step. Each step he gives you in life is preparing you for your major step. So it's like you see the sand foot in the sand print, you know that's him walking, But he's like, guess what? I'm gonna let you down. But guess what? You ain't have to do all that work because everything you did, I prepared you for this. So everything I went through, I'm like, I might have been crying. I'm like, Lord, Jesus, you don't love me no more. That process.
That's right.
He had to break the. What am I supposed to do? He like, I gave you all these tools. You're a multi-millionaire in your mind.
In your mind.
I need you to believe that though. You That's know right. It's there, but bring it to the forefront.
That mindset again.
Bring it to the forefront, to the temple, and lay it on the altar, and put it on your heart and give it to me.
Amen. Right. And now when you're an adult and you look at the pieces of the puzzle and you see how the pattern laid itself out, now you see right where you're stepping into. And it's huge. I'm so happy for you.
Thank you. And I started on this venture. I opened CEIZE YOUR Day Transport, which is my dispatch and logistics company. So everything from my trucking experience and from my dispatching experience, I actually am going to build my company up to help others. Especially, I noticed a lot of our people in the industry that needs help with organization, how to solidify their loads properly, how to communicate effectively. And now I have the ability to govern my atmosphere and don't have to. I can set my atmosphere with my ancestors and my Holy Spirit that come with me, and then he's going to govern my driver.
I love that. So in all things, it requires order. And so here we go again, doing it in the order, but placing the Most High, placing God in the rightful space of being first, because first before we can even think, God is there and creating our mindsets to do that. So I want to be one of the first people to tell you congratulations. I know it's huge. I already know it's huge because you are following that path, right? You're following the path and being led right into the direction of something you've been doing and that you have a passion. You have a passion for working with people in logistics. I watched how good you are at it. And the fact that you have the experience of being actually in a truck and moving freight and knowing what that looks like too. And knowing that the goal is to be safe, right? Yeah. The goal is to establish good relationships with your clients and making sure you're on time and professional and all those things that go along with it. And I have all of the faith in you to know that the drivers who come on your board or that you are dispatching for or that you are creating the way for, I have all of the faith to know that they are going to be brought up in the way that they should, and that they're going to be safe and that they are going to be excellent because they're being led from you, and you are based in excellence. I've watched you for a long time, and you helped me. You helped me when I was new and doing that, and you didn't hold back. Sometimes it's hard to get someone to kind of help you when you're new at something. You really don't know. You didn't really know what I was doing at first. I knew I had the compassion for it, but I didn't have the know-how and really know how serious that responsibility that we had was. And, and I really do. I will always hold a special place for that time in my life, right? Because I was fascinated by that particular job. I was fascinated, and I started to value it for being essential before that became like that cliche. Like, this is essential work, and and building those relationships and not burning bridges. I mean, all that is to say that you will probably, just like you came back again and you found yourself there, I'm sure that you will do that again and have some great drivers and have great people moving freight for great companies. So I'm here to say congratulations to you on that. And I know that this is something that is new on your spectrum. It's new on the spectrum for you. You're just embarking on this part of your journey. But if someone's listening now and they want to learn more about, can they become a dispatcher under your brand? Can they become a driver under your brand? How does one get in? Like, how does someone get in touch with you for that? And is that a possibility?
Yeah, okay. So definitely you can go to cydtransport.com. That stands for Seize Your Day Transport. I have my email on there, and I have my 250-3630. There we go.
And we'll also have that posted here.
Yeah, we have that posted.
So that people can get that.
And basically, I'm accepting right now owner operators with their own authority. I accept owner operators with new authorities. So if you have 1 or 2 trucks, or if you have a fleet of trucks, I'm dealing with that right now. I am planning on in the next year to expound to adding on dispatchers. And you see yourself as a child of God. God is a king, so are you. So I'm a queen. Well,
yes. I love that. And you are, and you wear your crown, right? So you see, I came today because I knew you was coming with your hair wrap. I said, let me get on my queen. Let me get on my queendom right now. Yes. Let me be queening up in here today with faith.
Yes, I love it.
Yes. So faith over fear. And as we move on out into our days, into our lives, into our journeys, right now, Queen Musa, I'd like to allow you the time to reintroduce yourself. In the beginning, I introduced you. Throughout this time, you told us some great things about you. When I say reintroduce yourself, I want you to introduce us to Queen Musa.
Allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Musa. Hey!
Hey!
Yes, hey.
Come on!
In months, I see myself fulfilling my purpose as doing Seize Your Day Transport, and it's running like a well-oiled machine. I see it in months. But my entity as Seize Your Day Incorporated is actually my farm. I see that in years. I see my baking business, which is Gladys and Marie's Bakery, flourishing with producing food for the homeless and for kids in need. I see that I have Let's Chill Cafe, which is my business for cannabis. So I will be diving more into my hemp medicinal part, pairing that with Seize Your Day Wellness. So they will be working coincidentally, and that will allow people to come to the farm and be healed.